He's so sweet because he keeps our picture on his phone.
Đi đó, rồi hỏi.
What's happening here?
Look at this cute little comb over. My thumb has a little cute little comb over. Kind of reminds me of like Alex from Love is Blind. We've got all these crazy nice little bangs and a sweet little comb over. Hello, ladies.
It's Thursday and we're going to the museum in a little bit, and I've changed my clothes like 6 times and this is what I ended up with. I'll change again, I almost promise you. I wanted to start this week's vlog actually doing my heart to heart because I usually do it at the end. And when I'm editing, I've kind of noticed even I'm a little burnt out by then to like then sit down and talk about deep emotions. So maybe this week I'll switch it and see how that feels. I realized the other day that I am still waiting for my life to start. And I know I'm not the only person that's going through that sensation. So let's talk it through. If you've been following the previous vlogs, you know that we just moved down here to Houston, Texas. I've also lived in Seattle, Los Angeles, New York. I had moved back from Los Angeles to Idaho to be with Jake right after we got married. And I just lost myself. Like I felt very off center. I wasn't living my work. I wasn't living myself. I kind of just got out of my like creativity and my routine. I lost that sense of purpose. And we talk a lot on this channel about the purpose of this girl. The girl that when I was sick, she had all these dreams and she made a lot of promises about what she would do with her life if she got to survive, and she did. And it's my job to fill those promises. And it's your job to fill your promises to whatever younger self, whatever true inner child is in you who said like, I want to be an artist, I want to be a painter, I want to be a graphic designer, I want to be a radio host, whatever it was for you. We've made those promises to ourselves and for me to something higher than myself. And now it's my job as the adult and the caretaker and parent of that inner child to fulfill them. So I'm sharing that journey on here, but I did realize the other day I'm just still waiting for my life to start, which is funny because I thought that back when I was in Idaho waiting to get back to a city, once I got to the city, my life would start again. And it has. I feel so much more present. I feel so much more embodied. I feel so much happier, but there's still parts of me that are kind of waiting. And I can feel it because I'm not fully present in my day. And I'm just kind of feeling this low grade anxiety of like when things are going to be okay so that I can enjoy, so that I can be in the moment, so that I don't have to worry or be like planning or looking over things. Freedom is really, really important to me. So being self-sovereign that way is really important. And also now being a content creator this way, making ads with my own body and modeling and, you know, doing a lot of things for brands where I am speaking to that product. It's a huge change for me because usually I've been in the background inside a brand writing voice and copy for them to put out, but it's never like from Rachel. Now these messages are coming from me. So I've never been this seen. I've never been this exposed. I like it. And I like the changes that have happened since we got here, but the waiting breaks my heart because I know that that's not how life is meant to be experienced. Waiting for, you know, the right job, waiting for the weather to change, waiting to lose 10 pounds, we all have these things that we're waiting for. And there's a difference between trying to manifest something that you want and putting your life on hold until you get that thing that you're trying to manifest. Because a lot of times if it's just that you're putting your life on hold, that manifestation probably isn't going to come, or even if it does, I don't know how long you can hold it or enjoy it because your mind is still in this kind of worry and lack of presence and acceptance and awareness of this moment. So I built up this habit of waiting for my life to start because that was the safest way for me to exist for a really long time. As a kid, in our family, but also the society and place that I grew up in, it was very normal for women to be more of a caretaker than the men were. So the women often put men first, and that included like the girls putting the boys first. And I got a lot of joy out of being like my mom's little helper and from being like maternal, but I also sacrificed a lot of myself because I thought that's what a good girl would do, and I thought it would get me more praise. It did. It got me a lot of praise. And in class, helping other people and, you know, like sacrificing what I wanted and taking what other kids didn't want, or like the harder part of an assignment, that kind of thing. It's the eternal good girl syndrome I talked about in a couple videos back. If you want to go more in depth into that, it's a couple of videos ago. I'm not sure which one, but I know that I'm like unpacking my closet, so look for that video. Then when I was in school, later years, I didn't really fit in. I was kind of a weird artist in like this really small, homogenous town. And so I built in my brain this dream world of like, when I get out of here, when I move out of this little town and go to the city and find my people and I can be myself. And that waiting really kept a huge sense of hope inside of me. And it helped me get through those tough adolescent years. And then I got sick. And I was only 17 when I got sick, but I had 7 months or however long I was in really intense chemo where I was just waiting for that to end. And I did appreciate that time because by that age, I was so used to waiting and that being the way that I lived my life, that form of waiting was actually pretty magical because it was the first time that I got to be like, oh, this life is mine. This is really like mine to make. And if I'm going to survive this, I'm going to make the story mine from here on out, which at 17 was like a beautiful, bright-eyed way to do it. And I still believe it. But when I got back into the real world and I was like, I had gained like 40, 50 pounds in chemo from a steroid. I lost my hair. I just looked so different. I was covered in stretch marks and scars, and I just looked very alien even to myself, which was fine in the hospital. Once I got back to like school and normal, my friend groups and whatever, I wanted to look like other girls. I wanted to be normal. And so it went from being in the hospital waiting to be finished with chemo so I could go live my life according to my own terms for the very first time, to chemo ending what I wanted, and then going back to normal life. And it was so much harder than I thought that it would be to feel beautiful, to see myself as deserving of love, to see myself as beautiful. And Jake was a big part of that process because he was the very first person I dated when I got back. In fact, I don't remember how many months after, but I still had no hair and was still overweight. And he just looked at me and he was like, "You're still the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." So he helped a lot, but I just still had this waiting sense of, when I lose the weight, when my hair grows back. And then it just continued through jobs that I didn't like, or through, different things. And just like when things get better, when we have more money, there's just always a reason. And I know that I'm not the only person out there to do it. So here's a couple subtle ways we wait, or signs that you might be waiting for your life to start. Over preparing and researching instead of taking action. So if you're the kind of person who has like a magazine you want to start, or a passion project you've been wanting to kick off the ground, or a skill you want to learn, and you find yourself just doing all the research, doing all the planning, but never taking action, it's the same as like waiting for the perfect conditions. Those are both signs that like you're waiting for your life to start, and it doesn't. Like you have to take those first messy steps, either before you're ready or like while you're still learning and still doing the research. The incremental aligned action, as TBM would call it, needs to happen too. Another way is the dependency factor. For me, that was like when I lose the weight, when my hair grows back, like waiting for something about ourselves to be right, or to like fix ourselves in some way before we have the right to like either live our life or go after what we want or start some kind of process or even just be present. And then the last one, and I think this is the most killer, is waiting for the invitation or permission. Waiting for either somebody else to tell you like, oh, you should start a podcast, you should go on a dating app, you should whatever, or waiting for the invitation to come. A lot of things don't come with an invitation. We have to build the power to go into those rooms, or the internet is a perfect example. Nobody is on the internet being like, oh yeah, come on in, but it is an open invitation. Like I didn't receive in the mail a letter that said, Rachel, start a YouTube. I just decided to because I was getting so many products and my life became so much about showing my process with these beauty products, body care products. And I wanted to show that with also my story of trying to fulfill that girl's promises. And so I just did it. The invitation was mine to give myself, but so many times we are very subconsciously, it's not even overtly, it's not even like blatantly that we're waiting for an invitation or permission, but deep down we're just like, I don't know if I can, I don't know if other people would be okay if I did. And on top of the subtle ways that we wait, it's important to think about what that waiting steals from us. This is the part that hits me so deep in my heart and just breaks my heart, because I know that 17-year-old sitting in the hospital, no hair, waiting to start her life, would look at me and be like, what are you doing? Like, what was all my hard work for if you're just sitting there not even enjoying, parts of your life? Waiting steals from us presence, the ability to be in the moment. We have to have an acceptance of exactly where we are in order to be present in a specific moment, whether it's a good or a bad moment, pleasurable or painful moment. We have to have deep acceptance of that's exactly what's happening. And there's so much peace to be found in presence even in the hard moments, but we steal that from us if our whole life is looking ahead, if our whole consciousness is looking ahead at when we get this, when we are this, when we have this. Peace, obviously wrapped in the presence, is like waiting robs us so much of the peace we can have in this moment, about the state of our lives, about the state of ourselves right now. And I think it does also rob us the potential of manifesting exactly what we want, because waiting perpetuates waiting. Struggle perpetuates struggle. Like attracts like, if you use that kind of manifestation language. So if you're always in the state of waiting, you're going to get more of the waiting. It's kind of like the waiting always puts us in this place of like one step behind this life we're going to have. And in doing so, we live like just kind of chasing the rabbit like horses do on a track that we're never going to get, and we never like stop and look around and like enjoy the time or the speed or the walk or the ground. Like there's no part of that race we actually enjoy because we're so hyper fixated on this thing that's like one step ahead of us. I also think the waiting robs us of the opportunity to even start the process of getting the thing that we want, whether it's to lose weight, gain weight, get in shape, start a project, learn a language, move to a new city, find a relationship. The waiting robs us of those things because without the ability to be present in this moment, a moment that we have to stop our waiting practices for in order to be in, a moment that we have to like fully accept as here and now, which is the opposite of waiting. If we can't be in this present moment, if we can't be accepting of exactly what is right now, we cannot start the process of getting what we want because we can never take action from here and now. You can only take action from here and now. So it just becomes like a never-ending cycle. I think what we're waiting for is, here are a couple examples. There's actually probably so many, but ones that I wait for the most are like a guarantee that it's going to work, a guarantee that it's going to be successful, a guarantee that I'll be okay if I do it. Like if you put yourself out there hoping for this guarantee that somehow you could possibly know that people will love it and accept it and cherish it and champion it, and that they'll say, yes, you can do that. It's not, we're never going to get that guarantee. And sometimes the guarantees that are going to come with doing something are not great guarantees. Like I can guarantee by putting myself on the internet, I'm going to get some negative comments. I already have. And that's okay. Like part of me thinks that's a good sign because it's like, okay, even my favorite creators get negative comments as well as positive ones, and I get negative and positive, and it's like, okay, well, that's one tiny piece of what they've gotten in their own success that I'm like tasting now. I think that we're also waiting for proof that we've like done enough. This goes back to the good girl syndrome of constantly proving yourself, constantly chasing validation or approval, or really just safety through validation and approval of like, if you've done enough to help mom and dad, if you've done enough to put everybody else first and make sure they're all taken care of. If you're a mother right now, you might really, really resonate with that part. It's like is everybody else okay so that I can make sure I'm okay? And then you look around and everybody's fine, you're not fine, and nobody's helping you be fine. That's probably in that same good girl cycle of just like putting everybody else before yourself. It's such a deep state of codependency that I have fought through for years and did a lot of internal work to get through. But the waiting robs us of the presence to be able to make changes in the here and now. And what we're waiting for is the knowing that we've done enough in order to like have what we want, do what we want, make the change that we need to make. And there's never going to be that place where we or somebody else is going to be like, you've done enough. Like it's your turn. You have to give yourself that permission. So that covers subtle ways in which we wait and put off our own life, reasons that we kind of put off our own joy and our own presence, what waiting takes away from us, what it steals from us, what we're waiting for in order to take any kind of action, like what we're waiting for in order to make change. And here are some of the emotions that we think are at the end of the wait. What we think we're heading towards in this like, oh yeah, my life's not really started yet, or oh, I'm going to do that soon, or whatever reason we're putting off what we want or who we want to become. What we think is at the end of that waiting is the right, the safety, the deservingness to be who we are, have what we want, feel accomplished, happy, fulfilled. We think that accomplishment, happiness, and fulfillment are at the end of this wait. We think that peace, safety, stability is at the end of this wait. That's what it is for me. Like, oh, when my life starts, oh, when I get these things, oh, when, I have the right client or sign the right contract, or, an ad hits the right way, then I'll get the peace, safety, accomplishment, stability that I deeply, deeply crave. And those two can't happen because the waiting for those things is always in a state of the future, which isn't in the here and now. So I'm never going to have the presence and the stability in the here and now if I'm always in the waiting phase for it. Because I could get the right client, I could get the right contract, the ad could hit, but then it's going to be like, oh, but I didn't realize it should have been bigger. I didn't do it quite right. there's always going to be a caveat of why it's not quite right if my mind is so focused in the like, my life is going to start, and there is no like presence in this moment. So I want to throw in a little anecdote of one moment that I always kind of anchor myself to and remember when I'm in this place of like, oh, I'm kind of waiting for my life to start. Years before Jake and I got together, I was in a relationship that was incredibly tumultuous. It was very unhealthy, and I was very much in my caretaker phase at the time. It was right when I was in the heat of like doing a lot of codependency recovery and work and research and personal excavating and digging. And there came a point at which the shift was starting to happen. I was starting to see that like I was trying to do more and more and more to fix this relationship, and it was never going to be enough because the premise of the relationship was that it was unhealthy, and the other person taking and my giving was the only way that it functioned. I had kind of a dark night of the soul at that moment where I was like, okay, well, the over-giving, the overdoing, and the over-functioning is not helping, and it's not getting me what I want, and the relationship's not getting better. I kept thinking, when we get to the bottom of our fighting, when we get to the bottom of why he wants this and I want that, when this relationship is perfect, I'll get to be happy. And when I finally started to accept the relationship as it was in the here and now, it was a heartbreaking experience, but I also started to realize a couple different things that I didn't realize the relationship had kind of seeped into. One of the first things was that I lived alone at the time, and one night I just decided to have a night in my own home that I chose to be there completely alone, only cooking for myself, and I just was going to give myself permission to not think about him, to not reach out to him, to not answer if he reached out, and not to do anything to try to fix the relationship. Like, not think about it, stress about it, read books about it, nothing. Just like a night where I just was like calm and quiet. And that might seem like a crazy thing because of course I was home by myself all the time living alone, but that first night of giving myself permission to have what I ended up calling a boring night was the most freeing thing I've ever done for myself. And what I realized was that there's these pockets of calm and quiet before real change shows up when we give ourselves exactly the thing that we want, trusting that the change is going to show up around us, and that's where transformation really happens. So what I did that night was I cooked myself a nourishing dinner, I had a beautiful glass of wine, I watched whatever movie I wanted, and then I crawled in bed at about 8:30, read a book for an hour, and went to sleep and had the best sleep of my life. Sleep I hadn't had in years. I had been in that relationship for years, and the entire time my sleep had been disrupted by being anxious about it, about the fact that he used to typically call in the middle of the night and need either my attention or affection or helping, saving kind of thing. And so it was the very first night where I was like, I know none of that is going to happen. I'm not going to learn anything about the relationship that I need to take more initiative in. I know I'm not going to be disturbed. Like, this is my night. And I have never felt so empowered. And I was bored. Of course I was bored because that roller coaster of dopamine of an unhealthy relationship was so strong by that point. But I realized like, oh, I want boredom. I want freedom in a relationship where I know it's going to be safe all the time and not the constancy of fights and just kind of being on edge. Like, are we okay? Is he going to be okay? Like, I wanted that calm, quiet, sitting in the bed. And I just remember like right before I went to sleep, closing my book, looking around my room and being like, whoa, this is wild. This is stability. This is safety. This is security. And I love it and I want it. That one night, I think, was the beginning of the unraveling of that relationship where I just couldn't be in it anymore. And I think if you're in a state of waiting, that night feeling is kind of like where I'm taking my no longer waiting. And it kind of feels like nothing's happening, but the shift inside is so profound. And then the things around you can kind of like catch up. So what does that look like now in the not waiting? It looks like allowing myself to be present right here, even though what I think I need or want in order to have the right to be present hasn't quite shown up yet. That presence looks like enjoying this moment, taking my time, feeling out what feels good today, right now, this evening, this week. It looks like acceptance of things exactly as they are and knowing that I don't have to fix or change anything or everything right now. Like that can take time and it can happen when I feel inspired for it to do so. I know that a lot of this sounds really privileged, but it is and it isn't. In the way that it isn't is the fact that like if you're in a state of waiting for your life, you've probably had a track record of your whole life trying to prove yourself, justify your right to be there, or like feeling these fears of your inadequacy or self-worth, or like, do you have the right to go after what you want? So in that case, the self-righteousness of like feeling what you actually need or want in the moment is exactly what you have to do, because you've spent, like me, probably too much time in the deficit of, do I deserve this? Like, we need to get to the baseline of, yes, I absolutely do. The not waiting anymore also looks like, on top of the like selfishness of saying like, this is what I want, I'm allowed to feel these emotions right now and accept this moment. Like, let's say your want is a new job. The not waiting to enjoy and experience your life right now until the new job shows up can look like the selfishness of like taking it a little easier in your job now while still doing a good job, like still fulfilling your roles and your duties while not making it your whole sense of worth. So getting that sense of like peace and stability while also being excited for what's to come and having faith that that next thing's gonna come. I think the faith piece is a huge part, because when I was alone that night, I realized that a lot of the fears I had were like, will anybody ever love me again? I think we all have that question when we're in a relationship and we're leaving it, even if it's not a good relationship. I think it's just a natural question to ask, like, is anybody ever gonna love me again? Is this like the best I can do? Is, you know, especially if that partner is very toxic, and in my case it was, so I was hearing messages about how I was like really hard to love. That was his famous words. It's like, you're very hard to love. Now I know that that's not true, but at the time it was so deep down ingrained in me from hearing it so much that night when I was on my own, it was the first time I could look around and it was quiet enough where his voice wasn't filling my head and I could ask like, is that true that I'm hard to love? Because tonight I'm finding myself very easy to love. So the not waiting for your life to start, even if the thing that you think you want or need in order to feel happy, joy, safe, security, whatever it is, the not waiting looks like having faith that it is on the way, or that at the very least going after it will bring you more peace and fulfillment than never going out for it, even if the going out for it doesn't pay off. So let's say you want to start a TV show and you've always wanted to do this and you've put it off your whole life and you're about to turn 55. You finally go after starting your own TV show. There will be more peace in the having started it and tried, even if it's a complete failure, than getting to age 80 and never having tried and having this huge question mark in your brain. I know that because having sat in a hospital for 6 months before we knew whether that chemo was actually working, I thought a lot about what I would actually regret doing, even if it didn't pay off, even if it didn't turn out the way that I wanted. I thought a lot about the things I would regret, even if they turned out to be total disasters, but I never experienced them, and the cost is high on those kinds of things. And lastly, the not waiting looks like actually enjoying this moment, and not because it's like, I think in a lot of times we talk about manifestation being like, oh, pretend like you have it. No, that for me does not work. It's not a fake it till I make it. It needs to be a true, genuine experience of those emotions. So I can be enjoying this life, I can be experiencing this life, tasting it, loving it, and actually really appreciating it. The other day I was thinking about how one of my deepest callings feels like connecting deeply with people, and that's what I'm hoping to do here with you. And right now, when the viewership is only at like 30, that's so special and precious to me, because if I think of a room of 30 people that I'm talking to, I'm really talking to just you. Like, I'm really connecting with these 30 beautiful souls, and that's incredible to me. Like, what a gift. And if it got to be more than that, if this keeps growing, like, I hope it always feels like 30 people in the room, because wow, like, that's just so intimate and special, and I want the connection that I share, whether it's to 30 or 3 million, to feel like so heart to heart. So the enjoyment for me is just being in the space of the 30 followers and that being like so amazing, not pretending it's 3 million, but instead being like, wow, that's a beautiful thing. So we're going to go enjoy our lives, because it is a Thursday, and here in Houston they offer free admission to museums here, and we have been waiting to do that, and so it's going to be a little bit of a day date for us, and we're pretty excited about it. beauty being such an integral part of my like soul's calling, I want to be surrounded by beautiful things. And I don't mean perfect things. I mean art and self-expression and person-to-person conversations. And sometimes the beauty isn't that something is aesthetically perfect or like visually perfect or even appealing. It's that I'm able to see the beauty in that thing, and to do so I need to be around creativity and art and all sorts of, you know, culture and diversity. And so we're gonna go experience it here in a little bit here in Houston. I'll probably change outfits and I'll try to include some of that footage. I'm just finishing a work day. Are you frozen already?
Okay, 2 minutes is perfect.
Oh,
I think it's just like warm enough but not too hot.
that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Get that. Close this door.
My screen froze, so hopefully you can see me. I just finished a work day. A lot of products today. I started my cycle and I am actually dying, which is what I wanted to talk about. I actually love being on my period. I think it's super magical. I think it's an amazing thing that our bodies do. It hurts and it's intense. Thankfully, I have a husband who gets it and gets that it's magic. When Jake and I were teenagers, and we weren't dating when I was in chemo, but we started dating again when I got back, and I didn't have a period, and it was pretty scary for us because we were kids and we didn't know if I'd ever be able to have kids after that. We hope that I can someday, but anyway, I keep promising I'm gonna open up about that, and I haven't yet. Anyway, so he and I went through the experience of it coming back, and that was really cool. We were both super stoked. So I really, really appreciate having a period. It's also very hard. There's been nights like last month was so intense that I was like up in the middle of the night about to vomit. It made me sick, like ran through my body, like literally I was in and out of the bathroom all night and I truly wreathing in pain, like level 15. And Jake made me these when we were dating. One of the many reasons I married that man. He sewed buckwheat heating pads for me. They're full of buckwheat and they're full of buckwheat. And he microwaves them for me whenever I need just relief because the cramps are so bad. But we talk about our periods like they're gross, and they're not. They're amazing. They're so powerful. It's such a time of transformation, and it's the birth cycle, and it's painful, but it's a death and a coming back and reemerging. And I just think it's so cool that our bodies do that. Like, there is nothing more insane and cool and powerful and respectable than the fact that women's bodies make the human race. And we don't treat them that way. And so next time you're on your period, just start to think about how freaking awesome that is and how you have every right to ride that cycle out. Like, if you need a bath, if you need to sleep, whatever. I also want to mention, I don't have them here, but I had even more severe periods and like really irregular cycles until I started taking my own inositol and DIM. I'll try to link those below. But also, even if you don't have like PCOS symptoms, I switched from tampons and pads to a disc. And I think that made such a huge difference, and I much, much prefer it. Some of my friends can't get down with it just because like it also depends on the tilt of your pelvis, and yeah, there's different factors to it, but for me, it does last me about 12 hours at a time. And as you can see today, I wore white shorts, which was a choice. Still a little nervous about that, but Jake wouldn't care if I, bled through. So try one of those if you are looking for alternatives to like bleach-filled products. They're also kind of a stick it to the man because you buy one and it lasts you a really long time, and you just boil it to sanitize it in between cycles. So you're not buying another box of tampons every 2 days on your period. You get to use one disc for months at a time. So that's my little hack. And yeah, remedies this week are gonna include a lot of sleep, these heat packs, some Tylenol, and Jake basically babying me.